On a staircase that leads to the skies, with no railings or support, carries a giant, floating black block at the top of it. A young boy, though in his bare body, climbs the staircase and stands in front of the giant black block, which calls out to him by speaking his name, Crest, and gives the boy a skill called GACHA. Later, at the royal capital of Reykjavik, Resifal, in a luxurious horse carriage, a father congratulates his son for getting such an amazing skill, which the boy is grateful to receive. It is Crest, the fifth son of the Duke, who receives a head pat from his father and accepts it cheerfully. Whenever a person reaches the age of 15 in the country, they undergo a practice of evaluation event where they receive a skill from God himself, and so Crest got the skill GACHA, which made his family extremely happy, so much so that he saw his father smile this openly for the first time as they both reached the church. Unfortunately, though, Crest's mother passed away right after she gave birth to him, which made his family hate him, thinking that he is some sort of an evil symbol for them. But Crest was able to live a rather comfortable life regardless. As he stares at a glass art of a mother carrying her baby, painted on the church's walls, he gets surprised when Ellis, the daughter of the Duke Rifeld, greets him. She is a beautiful young girl, and also Crest's soon-to-be wife. He asks her the reason for her visit at the church, and assumes that she may not be living well, but she denies that, saying that she is here to be a part of such an important event in her soon-to-be husband's life. Though she makes sure with him that he is not disturbed by her being present, which he nervously denies. The reason for him being so nervous around her is that she is the one who is letting him live normally as they are to be married due to a political agreement between their fathers, the Dukes, plus Ellis is only a nice from the outside, as she is actually someone who enjoys seeing others in pain, and so has been bullying Crest ever since they were children. Even now, she makes a comment on his new ability, GACHA, while giving a stare that gives off an evil feeling to Crest, which he immediately recognizes as he is used to it, though he is also aware that her bullying has reduced now because of his skill, but it is possible that she will start it again if he uses it in front of her. However, Crest decides that he cannot be scared of her forever, so he replies to her smug comment with a very kind reply that he will try to make his skill beneficial for her as well, which leaves her embarrassed as she did not expect such a reply from Crest. She immediately turns around and leaves, as to not show her shy face to him, which leaves Crest thinking about why she did not bully him right now, though he is then called by someone to do what he was here for. Crest is now finally happy that his difficult life will end today because of his skill GACHA, and that he gets to start a new life right now, as he touches a stone monument, which looks a lot like a smartphone, and then the stone monument starts to shine brightly after his touch, and then the word GACHA in black font appears on the screen. The crowd watching him get his abilities start to get jealous and nervous that Crest actually got such an amazing skill that he can now get as many skills as he wants, and so his father asks him to show how his skill works, which Crest accepts and activates it. A screen pops up in front of him with a lot of text on it and a lot of options to choose from, which makes even Crest think that it is too flashy, but only he is able to see it, and he cannot share what he sees with anyone else. However, because he is supposed to show his skill to everyone, he catches their attention by calling out to them and gets ready to present. Without being able to give a visual of the screen that is in front of him, Crest continues with his presentation as he informs everyone that he, indeed, has a screen that lets him use the GACHA, but as he excitedly clicks on the button to start his skill, thinking about how his new life is about to begin, the button does not work, leaving a wave of silence in the crowd. He realizes and starts to panic because the GACHA did not work, and when he looks at the screen, it gives an error saying that Crest does not have the required 500 points to use the skill. Crest shouts as he is in disbelief of what just happened, and to make matters worse, his siblings march onto the stage and start to call him a scammer because he lied about his skill. Crest tries to explain himself, but his panic state does not let him do it very well, plus the screaming of his siblings as they force him to show his skill to everyone makes him look very unconvincing when he tells them that he needs points to use the GACHA. Thinking he is making an excuse, the siblings order Crest to go and gather the points, making him shake in his boots as he looks through the screen of his skill for those points, blaming it for not telling him how to use the skill, nor even guiding him about the points. He gets scared to the point that his eyes look like they are going to pop out of his face, and tears run down his face when suddenly he slowly turns back to the sight of his father standing behind him, so angry that he lets out a dark aura from him. His father tells Crest that he has brought shame to the family by failing to show his ability. and that he dares to ruin the name of Bahurst, their family, as if killing his own mother after being born was not enough for him. Crest tries to explain to his father that what he thinks is wrong, but is told to shut his mouth as his father compares him to a scum, leaving him absolutely horrified as he continues to cry, while Ellie smiles in the crowd as she sees her victim of bullying get completely degraded by everyone. His father finally gives the command that Crest is now banned from ever entering the country again, and this news comes to him as a very big shock, making him drop down to his knees in very low confidence in himself to make a change in himself for the better. In a horse carriage, guarded by two men with their lances aimed in a cross against Crest's neck, leads him through a deserted land with destroyed trees, a flock of crows flying everywhere, and smoke all around the path. He sits there in a hood and lifeless eyes, until he is finally dropped on a magic circle, where he begs the guards to give him a sword at least so that he can fight off a few monsters after he is sent away. The guards deny him that request, telling him that they were told to treat him like a sinner he is, and they call him stupid for trying to fake an ability and lie about it to his family, and that he could have lived a better life had he listened to them. However, Crest reminds the guards that the real reason sinners go down to the lower world is to kill demons, so he will do just that so that he can show his father that he is worthy of living, and that he wants to change the upper world to a place where people can live happily and safely for a long time. Listening to his goals and determination, the guards get convinced and help him out by giving him a sword to use in the lower world and activate the magic circle to send him away. The guards think that they will never see Crest's face again, as the magic circle lights up and he vanishes from their eyes. Meanwhile, in the lower world, a large beam of light comes crashing down in the middle of a forest, carrying Crest to a safe landing there. After the light vanishes, Crest gets on his feet and realizes that he is really in the lower world now, and steels himself to survive here by taking off his hood and looking around for monsters to defeat. The lower world is where monsters live, while the upper world is where the humans live, and both of these worlds are connected through just one magic circle that is guarded by a strong gate, which is really just one of a kind throughout both worlds. The magic circle is used to send criminals who have committed a huge crime to the lower world, and the locations where they end up in the lower world are completely random, so there is really no way for them to get back to the upper world anymore. Crest gets to thinking about what his next move will be as he stretches his body, when suddenly he notices eyes that glow through the shadow of a bush, and it jumps towards him, leaving him with just enough time to avoid the attack. But as he gathers himself and sees what attacked him, he finds a wolf staring at him with dangerous intentions as smoke comes out of its mouth. Wolves are a larger and more dangerous kind of wolves, and they are fearless, so they even attack people who have swords with them, which is why Crest asks the wolf about why it had to show up right as he landed. He takes out his sword from the sheath and gets into an attacking pose, aiming the sword at the wolf to fight it. Crest feels a little nervous, but he thinks about how he has already fought a monster before, seeing how he was the top of his class in the knighthood subject. Though the problem is that the monsters in the upper world are weaker than the ones in the lower world, so he is not sure if his skills with the sword will work against the dangerous wolf that stares at him with harmful intent. The wolf runs towards him at full speed, but Crest digs his shoe deep into the ground and raises it up with force, carrying a bunch of sand with him, and sends it flying into the eyes of the wolf, making it close them because of its vision being disturbed. Seeing the wolf distracted, Crest takes the chance and swings his sword with full force, slicing the wolf across its face. However, the wolf stares at him without backing off even a bit, scaring Crest that even an attack like this is not enough for it to stay down. The wolf opens its jaw wide enough to cover Crest's entire face in it, though he sees this and acts really quickly upon it, realizing that it is only natural for those living in the lower world to fight to survive, and quickly spins his sword in a different grip, and then stabs the wolf through both of its jaws in one clean strike, making the blood of the wolf splash everywhere with it screaming in pain. Finally, the wolf drops dead on the ground, while Crest relaxes and takes a moment to breath. Though after collecting himself, Crest thinks about how much more effort he had to apply on his body, which is unusual for him, but the sword he got from the guards by acting awkward is a good thing to have. He looks at the dead wolf's body and decides to take out all of its blood for now, so that he can eat its meat later, since he has heard that monster meat tastes quite delicious. Suddenly, a screen pops up on top of the dead wolf's body, with the number 100 written on it in black font, which at first does not ring a bell in Crest's mind as he thinks about how this never happened to him back in the upper world when he killed a monster. but then he notices the P written next to the number 100, which makes him realize that this might have to do something with his ability. So he quickly opens up the gacha screen. and is surprised to see that he actually got a 100 points by killing a monster. Though this only leads him to realize the fact that his skill is not actually a failure. Instead, it is only made for the lower world as it has monsters, while the upper world has nothing like that. He gets angry and shouts in frustration, saying that he deserved to know that his skill was not meant for his actual life anyways, so that he would have entered the lower world by his own choice, plus he would have gotten much better items and treatment then as well, unlike how he was thrown off here with just a sword and as a criminal. He lays down on the ground and looks up at the sky in a circular view covered by forest trees, and accepts that what happened to him may be for the best, because it is too late to go back now anyways, also that he does not want to get help from people like his siblings, his father, and Ellis, because they all treat him so badly. He also knows that he has been through much harsh treatment and unfairness in his life, so getting such a good skill is what he deserves, and starts to walk around the forest to look for more monsters, as he wants to start using his skill, GACHA, properly. He sits down and opens up the GACHA screen and plays around with it to learn more about it, getting hopeful that he is going to survive out here in the lower world as he smiles from ear to ear and the sun sets. Meanwhile, in a mansion in the upper world, in a huge room that clearly belongs to a noble person, Ellis lays on her majestic bed with a body pillow that has the picture of Crest on it, as she hugs it tightly and speaks his name under her breath, and with dark bags under her eyes from crying, indicating that she misses him. In a dark and gloomy room, Crest sits on the floor with his face down, covered in his black, messy hair. He appears to be in very simple clothes when the door opens and the light from the outside is blocked by a shadow of a girl. Crest looks up at the girl, and it is Ellis who has come to him again, only to insult him in a smug way about how he faked the skill GACHA that he received as he wanted to be treated better than he always has. He stares at her with an angry face but does not say anything, so she rudely tells him to say something when she talks to him. He tells her that she must be happy to have her marriage to such an idiot like him cancelled, which shocks her as she complains about his ungrateful attitude, seeing how she is here to save him from his punishment, which gives Crest a little bit of hope. However, when he asks her about exactly what she means by that, she talks down to him by calling him her dog, her slave, and her toy to play around with, so she cannot just let him leave without her permission. Crest suddenly gets uninterested in her offer and just asks what was she going to do to get him free, but she stops him in the middle as she sets up a chair in the room and starts taking her shoes off after sitting. She then moves her foot near his mouth and demands that he lick it, since she thinks of him as someone who would do anything for her. She tells him that by doing this, she will know that Crest is loyal to her, so she will get engaged to him again, and marry him as soon as they leave this room. She sells him dream that they will marry in front of so many people, proudly, and then she will help him by completely destroying the Riffel family for him. Though he does not move to accept her command, so she encourages him again by moving her foot near to his mouth, as she wants proof of him accepting her as his master. But Crest does not buy into her fake dreams and knocks her foot away with a strong slap, knocking her off of the chair she was sitting on. He gets up and scolds her that he is not her toy, nor her slave, neither a pet to her, and he really does not accept her as his master, which leaves Ellis in complete shock as she never expected him to disobey her like this. She tries to convince him again that he will die if he goes to the underworld in his current state, but all he says in return is for her to leave him alone, as he has already decided that he will enter the lower world. She reluctantly gets up and starts to leave, but stops by the door to warn him that he will regret his decision, and that she will not help him in any way if he came to her later. After this encounter, Ellis fell ill and had to rush home to rest. In her room, a maid talks to her about her health, which Ellis says is fine as she gets ready in her dress, ready to meet Crest the next day, but is informed by the maid that Crest has already been sent to the lower world before dawn today. This information comes to Ellis as a shock as she was not aware of this, and she screams at the maid because she is unable to process it. Meanwhile, in the lower world, Crest kills another wolf by slicing it in half, and is relieved that his journey is going really smoothly, as the area he is currently in has a lot of wolves to kill. GACHA, Crest's skill, is a rare skill that lets him use many skills instead of just one, like other people, but to use the GACHA, he has to collect points by defeating monsters, as he walks around the forest to look for them. He learns that killing one wolf gives him a 100 points, and so he has to defeat 5 of them because that is the minimum amount of points needed to use the gacha one time. At first, he thought of using gacha as soon as he has the required points for it, but as easy it is to just kill wolves and gain points by keeping one's cool, it is not going to be that easily moving on as he finds a footprint of a monster on the ground. So he came to a decision that he is going to collect 5,000 points altogether and use the gacha once to get the advantageous one-time gacha. He runs towards the footsteps, thinking about how getting more skills will make his body a lot stronger, like a light body skill, and that having the freedom of mind to keep goals like this is a lot better than what he used to do. On his 37th wolf kill, Crest seems optimistic that the 5,000 points goal that he has in mind will be achieved pretty easily while the sun is still out and shining. But when he opens up the gacha screen to check if he is actually receiving the points he expected, he sees something unexpected and gets completely shocked. He sees that the number of points he has received so far is stuck at 2,500, even though he has killed 37 wolves so far. He panics at first as he does not understand why did he not get the points, but then stops and takes a deep breath to calm himself down so that he can think of why this happened. He reflects on the fact that maybe it was his hunting method that was wrong, or that every monster he kills has a different point reward for him, which is when he looks at the dead body of the wolf he just killed and realizes that there is no screen showing on top of it, and then it clicks in his mind that maybe it is because he has reached the limit of hunting for the day, and blames himself for not checking the points more properly. As time passes, Crest seems a lot more tired than he was before finding out about how the points rewards became hard to get, but now he has finally gained 5,000 points before sunset as the final 100 points pop up on top of the body of a dead monster of a different kind. Turns out, Crest had changed his approach to hunting various different kinds of monsters like goblins and fang rabbit from just wolves. He was easily able to defeat the goblins as they were simple-minded monsters who would beg for him to stop before he kills them. But the fang rabbit has so much speed that it makes it hard to attack it with his sword, although they have a lower attack power than even a small wolf. Crest feels fortunate that he got the gacha skill to get more skills to survive out there in the lower world, which would have been really difficult with just one skill. So after he catches his breath by resting by a tree, Crest opens up the gacha screen and sees the 5,000 points gathered on there. He first gets excited to see the fruits of his hard work, but calms himself down to check the conditions of the gacha again, which is that it gives 3 rare skills of the highest level, which include healer, appraisal, and cultivation. Usually in their country, only 1 skill is given to a person by touching that smartphone-looking slab. But now Crest has the chance to learn all 3 of the skill, which again makes him cheerful as he drowns in greed of having so much access. He gets indecisive as he wonders if he should just use the gacha out in the open, or should he hide first, but then he sees the advantageous one-time gacha on his screen, which gives him an extra item if he uses 5,000 points in one go. Seeing that, Crest gets impatient and decides to just go for it, so he presses the button. But instead of getting some flashy action, he receives a chest box that drops down to him from the sky, but he is able to dodge it just at the right time, or else it would have hit his head. He gets scared at first, but then slowly opens his eyes to see the glowing chest box in front of him, which has the instructions "touch" floating on top of it. He presses that button, which automatically unlocks the lock on the chest box, and the lid opens quickly and releases a big bright light. Then 11 different orbs come flying out of that bright light and then gather in front of Crest, floating in the air. He stops and counts them all, which adds up to 11, and wonders if these are all skills that he got. He examines the orbs further to learn that there are many kinds of orbs, like the copper one he touches, but it starts to glow very brightly, making him close his eyes again. After he opens them, he finds that all of the copper orbs reveal different kind of low-level skills from them, like the Strength in Level 1, Agility Enhancement Level 1, Power Enhancement Level 1, and Strength and Magic Level 1, each indicated by a symbol that represents them. He tries to figure them out on the spot as to what these things really are, but then he decides to first move on by revealing all the other orbs. He then chooses to open the silver orbs, which again turn very bright and reveal several new skills, which feel like actual things he can do, rather than just bodily functions being improved, like 2 swordsmanship level 1 skills, a dagger skill level 1, and a mining skill level 1, though he finds the swordmanship to be more useful for now as he only has a sword. He then proceeds to reveal the golden orbs, which are magic orbs, and they give him magic skills like fire magic level 1 and earth magic level 1. These make him happy that his survival in the lower world just became a whole lot more easier than before. After getting through all of the other orbs, Crest turns toward the rainbow-colored orb that floats alone. He realizes that he has not gotten the top 3 skills yet, so he really wants this to be him, as he takes a big gulp before touching the orb. Finally, he opens the orb, which reveals that he got appraisal level 1, one of the top 3 skills, and that gets him excited enough to shout with full force. He then decides to try it on the spot by just thinking of the name of the skill in his head, though he worries that he might just look stupid if that does not work. He opens his eyes and sees a screen pop up in front of his eyes that says that the data is being uploaded in him, and then he sees that everything from the tall trees to the very small insects, flowers, and leaves around him is marked by an icon, and that everything can be interacted with to learn more about it. Crest gets really surprised by this appraisal skill, and to test it out, he grabs a peach from a nearby bush, and when the icon on the peach turns dark, a screen comes up on top of it with 3 different levels of information. The first level is obviously the name and the details of the item, in this case a peach, but the other 2 levels are locked as of now. Turns out the other 2 levels unlock when he reaches a higher level for the skill, and that will allow him to check more than one item at the same time. Though for now, he is grateful to see that he can check what items are toxic, and what are non-toxic so that he can safely eat them. He sees that even his own body can be checked, so he interacts with the icon on his wrist, and when it turns dark after loading a bit, the screen with Crest's information pops up. He sees his current status, his details, but when he realizes that he has 9 skills to use of now, it moves him to tears of joy. However, the happiness is short-lived as his stomach starts to growl after being empty for a while, which makes him think that if him crying so much today has something to do with him being hungry. At night, in the middle of the mountains and the forest, Crest sets up a campfire which he created by using the fire magic he got from the golden orbs, but since it is only level 1, he can make a small fire out of his index finger and burns the wood he gathered for the fire. Then he puts some monster meat around the fire for cooking. After a little wait, the meat gets ready and he takes a huge bite out of the meat and finds it absolutely delicious, which make his eyes glitter as he shouts in excitement of getting such a good fruit for his hard work. After having a full filing meal, Crest gets ready to sleep by laying down a skin mat of a monster he killed and then using another as a cover so that he can sleep while being warm in this cold weather. Before he sleeps, he thinks about doing even more hard work tomorrow to get more points, but he will have to hunt different kinds of monsters again. His eyes start to close because of how sleepy he feels, and just before he falls asleep, he wishes to get the healer skill as soon as possible, while making his current camp an improved place so that he can live more comfortably. While he is fast asleep, Crest dreams about his life back in the upper world where Ellis would often treat him like he did not really matter in the world, unless he was with her, since he is supposedly a trash person. The dreams start to turn into a nightmare as he remembers his trauma of getting controlled by Ellis as her plaything. And when the voices get too loud with her scary face calling out his name repeatedly, Crest wakes up suddenly from his sleep, out of breath and scared, thinking about how he really does not want to see Ellis of all people in his dreams after being away from people all this time. He tries to sleep again, but then thinks about the uniform of the Noble Academy Ellis went to, which is when he is reminded of the time her true personality was exposed to him, seeing her in bright light and spring petals flowing around her. In Ellis' mind, she believes herself to be really beautiful, and some people even believe her to be an angel in human form, but she does not like that as a praise, since she thinks of herself as a person who is even more beautiful. She thinks about her first meeting with Crest, when they both were little kids, and he told her to stay away from his as he is a devil child, which made him the first gentleman to walk away from her by his choice, when she was someone who used her good looks for her advantage for as long as she can remember. But despite Crest showing no interest in her, Ellis decided that she will make him interested in her by any means necessary, and so her bullying started. She visited Crest every day after that, and tortured him thoroughly by smacking him with a whip like he is an animal, when they would role playing as a horseback ride. Though despite going through various painful activities with her, Crest accepted Ellis for who she was and not her looks, which then in turn made her feel attracted to it herself. However, seeing Ellis involve herself with someone like Crest made people think that she is doing it out of pity for him, as she is very merciful, while his siblings would make fun of Crest as he is an useless 5th son of the Duke. Ellis stands in between of the crowd as they talk rudely about Crest, and finds it all to be irritating, while he stands alone in the corner. She thinks that the brothers who make fun of Crest without even knowing how good he actually is. They are the ones who do not know anything, which she finds frustrating to bear and thinks of a way to crush these people and their mockery of Crest. She then gets into the ear of her father, the Duke, and asks him to gather everyone present in the ballroom and their attentions to her, as she has something important to announce, which he accepts and makes it happen. Ella stands in the middle of everyone and proudly announces that she wants to get married to Crest, which leaves everyone shocked, including Crest. After a while of that announcement, both of them joined the Royal Academy of Nobility, but they were unable to meet each other as frequently as they used to, though the news of Crest's amazing swordsmanship skills reached Ellis, even in the Department of Nobles. She was very proud of him achieving something like this, and when he would wave to her as she watches him practice in the ground, other girls in the class backed off of him as they found out that Lady Ellis was already getting married to Lord Crest, which she told them herself with a big smile on her face. Though she thinks about that moment and wonders why did she even say that, but it continued as Ellis would give expensive and a lot in quantity gifts to Crest on school grounds, but she got annoyed when he did not give her a favorable reaction in front of the girls who watched them from afar, since Crest started to become a lot popular amongst the first daughters. Ellis figured out that watching a beautiful woman and a beautiful man fall in love is a source of entertainment for average girls who live in dorms, but they seemed more attracted to Crest as his behavior was nothing like that of a duke's. This got to Ellis as she started to get jealous of the attention he was getting from other girls, and so she would often remind him that she is his soon-to-be wife, which Crest did not forget. And so Ella's behavior started to get progressively worse as she got more and more jealous, to the point that she would tell him to not talk to any other girls but her. Then she started to remind him of her favor of appointing him as her soon-to-be husband, but it reached the height of jealousy when she started feeding him the thought that he is nothing without her. Ella's jealousy became so dangerous that she started to make feel Crest really bad about himself, to the point that he got depressed every day and lost all confidence in himself, which caused some bad news about him to float in the school he was so popular at. She got obsessed with seeing his frustrated face and him thinking very little of himself, only because she did not want him to be even thinking about any other girl but her. She would tower over him as he faded into darkness, but still, even when she heard the news from her maid that Crest got the skill, GACHA, from his god's dream, and that makes him a perfect husband for Ellis, she got even more jealous of him as she realized that he will now get further from her because he will be treated with more respect if his skill is really true, while keeping a kind face on the outside that she will only visit him to congratulate him for such a skill. Which is why, on the day of appraisal, when Crest got banned from the country, and dropped to his knees because he was humiliated in front of a big crowd, Ellis got happy that he will still remain the miserable pet she made him to be. And Legit thought to herself that she does not like him getting so mad at himself while being love-struck at his current state. Though Ellis thought that she will be able to fully control Crest after he faced such humiliation on the stage, because he ruined the name of the Bahurst family so badly that even later generations will know of it, throwing him into such a bad state that he will have no idea about who he is or what he is. That did not happen as Crazy chose to go to the lower world. Illa stands by her room's window and regrets that things did not go as she planned, and that if she was more honest about her feelings towards Crest during the last time they met before he got sent away, because now that they might never meet again. Realizing this, Ella starts to unexpectedly cry, which even surprises her, though she has to stop when a maid knocks on her door but is ordered to stay out of the room. The maid then just informs Alice that her father had told her to get ready to meet Duke Rakind as soon as possible, which gets Ellis into thinking. Meanwhile, in the lower world, Crest finds some actual fruits to eat, which he finds absolutely lovely to eat because they help him get his stamina back, because the tree he is getting the peaches from is an unusual tree that grows 2 times more large than a regular peach tree, and that it only took 5 days before it got to harvest. 5 days ago, Crest managed to get 5,000 points for his gacha again by finishing 25 fish arrows, and so he goes for another 11 roll. This time around, he gets all the basic skills and upgrades, but gets 2 rainbow orbs, which then reveal to be another appraisal skill and a new cultivation skill. He is thrilled to see the many new things that he got, and is not even mad about getting appraisal again, as he can now increase the skill level. He looks at the skill, cultivation, and uses it in the form of a peach seed, which he decides to plant as an experiment for his ability. Fast forward to the present, he is surprised to see that a newly grown-up tree is starting to produce fruit in just 5 days of being planted, which makes him think that the skills he get with rainbow orbs just might be too overpowered. Crest has been working on the many skills he received and explored for the last 5 days, so he opens up the gacha screen again because he has the required points again and uses it after a very long time. He finally gets the healer abilities he has been wanting for a while and starts to celebrate by jumping around in fulfillment. Crest plans on using his skills as a healer to make a recovery potion, as this skill lets the user create such potions by using materials and herbs. He creates an image of how the potion will look like, but he lacks material to make it as a usable item. He scratches the back of his head in confusion as he did not see medicine herbs around the entire forest. Though that is of least of his concerns, as he finally got something to treat his injuries and illness, so he will not have to worry, and then his search for a base that has a lot of medicine herbs start. Unfortunately, he encounters a fang cow on his journey, which is a very huge and strong monster, even breaking Crest's sword in half after clashing head-on with it, sending its half flying over to the ground and sticking in it. Crest starts to panic as he was just about to defeat the fang cow, but his sword's health points reached 0 from 1200 because it was already a really shaky sword, but because this monster's skin is pretty tough, it went straight to 0. The fang cow charges towards him at top speed, so Crest thinks quickly about what kind of skill would be useful to fight against this monster, since his magic is at a low level, and fishing and other skills do not really help in fighting, so he decides to go with hand-to-hand fighting with the bull. He thinks of Thur word in his head and takes a stance for a fighting style and punches the fang cow straight on its face as it reaches closer to him. As soon as he punches the fang cow on its head with a strong punch, it gets thrown back by flipping over because of incredible force and dies. And while Crest is thinking about how he had to face such a strong monster only a little further from the starting area, a screen of 200 points pops up on top of the fang cow, which makes him wonder if he will get more points if he keeps on fighting stronger monsters. But he feels his hand going senseless after that punch to the hard skin of fang cow, though it was really powerful even at level 1. He looks at his hand and finds that it has been completely destroyed. From swelling to damaged muscles to extreme bloodless, his entire hand got absolutely destroyed, and he starts to feel a lot of pain after he realizes what has gone wrong. His appraisal ability shows him that he has a fracture, a cut, 2 places with lacerations, and internal bleeding, and the pain just keeps on increasing to unbearable levels, which makes him cry because he cannot take it anymore. He realizes that it is really bad for something like this to happen, as it is much more serious than a few broken bones, so he tries to clear his head and use the healing abilities he just received on his hand. 2 slabs appear in front of him, and 2 separate items are presented to him, which are a chuchu grass G found during his exploration and magic water that has been purified using it. So mixing these 2 together gives him a purified potion, which he decides to apply on the damaged areas on his hand. But as soon as the water hits his hand, he holds it back for just a moment before screaming about the pain at the top of lungs that the entire forest shakes, making even the birds leave the place. Though after the process is over, he lays down on the ground and looks at his completely healed hand, which surprises him that his healer skill worked this good. But the problem is that his sword broke in half, while hand-to-hand combat and his body's durability are very weak and causes serious injury. Crest uses his ability of smithing and creates a board in front of him, placing the fangs of the cow and the broken sword onto it, making a brand new sword out of a harder material and with 200 health points. What really surprises Crest is the little time it took for the sword to get ready, appreciating that having such a skill is convenient even though it is only silver. However, his fight with the string fang cow makes Crest realize that his weapons and he alone are not enough to take down every monster, and so he needs to find friends that will help him, as he wants to get more points to use gacha, but having such strong enemies appear one after the another will prove to be very risky. He thinks of the benefits of having a friend with him, where they both can take turns to sleep while the other watches, and they also can think up of ways to fight more effectively. And so, just like how he was banned from the upper world and sent to the lower world, there might be other people here who were banned before him. Another problem rises for him as he thinks on it, that making friends with species that have a lower level of thinking or criminals that have been sent here is going to be hard, so he has to make friends with someone who at least understands normal morals, or a race that has his higher, which will last for a while as well. He starts to move ahead to look at trails he can use to find subhumans, and as soon as he will see one, he needs to call out to them, when suddenly he stops in his tracks and realizes that he does not know how to make friends, as he has never done that in the upper world. But then he remembers the one person whom he considered a friend. It was a girl he used to practice swordsmanship with, and the battle would always be really close even though Crest won mostly. He remembers the skills that girl taught him during their practice that they used to do by hiding from Ellis, and he wonders how she is doing these days. Meanwhile, in the upper world, in a stormy night at a palace, Ellis meets up with someone she was not hoping to see. And it turns out to be Mycelian, a girl so beautiful that Ellis gets jealous of her. As they both come face to face unexpectedly, Minyu replies to Ellis' question about her being here by saying that she was invited by the king, and that she must be here because of that too. But Ellis is too busy to stare at her in jealousy, and thinks about how Minyu is the daughter of a woman that her father is not married to, and her father is one of the 3 main dukes of the Rakin kingdom, the Mycelian family. She is someone who also got a very rare skill on the day of the appraisal ceremony. Minyu has been around Crest more than Ellis due to being in the same knighthood department as him, and also her bigger chest is what makes Ellis hate her even more. The foolish brothers of the Bahurst family show up with their smug faces as they express their surprise seeing both Ellis and Minyu at the same place. One brother praises Ellis for being beautiful as always, which she knows, while the other brother praises Minyu because she was able to kill a giant monster that came to town the other day, which she appreciates, but he goes on to say that there is no need to help common people. The brother that was praising Ellis offers himself to be her husband now that Crest is gone, while the other brother asks Minyu to go out and play with him as the talks with the king will be boring. Though after a small moment of silence, Ellis rejects the offer of the brother saying that he is not like Crest, neither he is able to replace him because he is not better than him, while Minyu also threatens them that her power is there to save common people, and that she will use it to protect them from anyone, even noble people like the brothers, whom she will not hesitate to kill if it became necessary. After receiving such cold and serious replies from the 2 girls, the brothers take a step back in shock of rejection, while the girls take their leave. In the great hall of the palace, the king arrives on his throne, who is an elderly man with a walking crane, and he first of all apologizes to the 3 Grand Dukes of the nation to be called out so shortly. The king's name is Resifal the 7th, and he is also the lord of the Resifal castle. Though the Bahurst family duke butters up the king saying that he will come to the king whenever he is called, while Ellis looks at him in a disgusting way. The king informs them that it is about the monsters that appeared the other day, alerting Minyu, but Minyu's father says that the Mycelian family must have already taken care of the huge wolf-like creature. The king tells him that they did do a good job with that, but the details of this new monster will be read out to them from the letter of the Pope, as the beautiful captain of the knights walks towards the king and faces the crowd with the letter. She opens up the paper and reads aloud the message which says that the Pope got a vision from God because of the monsters running around town, threatening the palace, and the vision was that the day where a lot of monsters will show up at once is not far away, which creates panic in the crowd as they find monsters a serious threat to the country. But the lady continues to read the letter, which says that they have nothing to fear as God has given them special skills to use, with 3 people's names listed down, which include Ella's skill Blessing of the Saint, which gets her all excited as she appreciates the thanks her father gave to her. She thinks how her skill is too powerful for such a peaceful upper world, but it is even better that it is going to be used against monsters, which gets her to visibly show her excitement. The captain of their knights then mentions Minyu as the 2nd person and her skill Strike of the Hero, which gets Ellis jealous of her again, but she copes by saying that she will be fine staying back with the army and supporting them, which will also make her popular amongst them, while Minyu the cowgirl will fight off monsters, hoping that she dies on the battlefield. Finally, the captain goes to announce the last person, which the brothers of Third Bahurst family think are either of them, as they wait impatiently for the name to be revealed. The captain of the knights announces GACHA as the 3rd skill required to defeat the monsters, which belongs to Crest, and everyone present in the room, including Ellis, Minyu, and the brothers, gets shocked to hear that. The father of the Bahurst family bites his lips and regrets abandoning Crest to the lower world, while the king praises the amazing skills and a coincidence that all 3 skills belong to the Duke families, and adds that the Pop thinks that more people with anti-monster skills will show up in the future, and goes on to claim that their country is safe for now as they have all 3 skills, while Ellis stares at him speechlessly. She thinks that the king does not know of what happened to Crest, though that leaves only her and Minyu alone to fight the monsters, and blames the Duke of Bahurst, who stands there shaking and sweating. The king points him out and asks about his 5th son, Crest, so the Duke tries to play it off high, saying that Crest was not feeling well enough to attend the talks with the king, though it was a weak lie he made up nervously. which is when Ella's father steps up and tells the king that Crest will not be able to step foot in this place again, and when the king asks about what he means by that, he diverts the attention to the Duke of Bahurst, as he should be the one to tell the truth. Crest's father was already worried for his life in this situation, hesitatingly tells the king that he sent Crest to the lower world because of a crime he committed, leaving the king absolutely shocked as he fails to process what he just heard. The king scolds him, saying that Crest has a god-chosen skill, so why did he punish him? But the Duke continues on with the excuse that he committed a sin, so the king demands an answer about what kind of a sin can a 15-year-old boy can commit that sends him to the lower world. While the Duke is trying to come up with an answer, Minyu steps up and tells the king that he did not commit any crime, and explains that the Duke of Bahurst called Crest a liar for not being able to show his skill on the spot during the appraisal ceremony, so he sent him to the lower world. The king calls this a foolish act as he facepalms, while the Duke gets angry at Minyu for saying such absurd things in front of the king. So Ella's father interrupts him, saying that everyone here was already present at the ceremony, so they know with it. Plus, the Pope's letter now confirms that Crest's skill was true all along, and because the Duke failed to trust his own son, their entire country's destruction is on his hands. The Duke is unable to handle such a response because of his mistake and fails to create even one sentence out of guilt. While Ellis looks at him and enjoys his misery with a smile, her father tells the king that they will find Crest on their own, and that the king will get to rest easy and not worry about the problem that their country is going to face soon, which the king finds dependable. Though he gives the king a condition, which is that he wants Crest as the head of the Bahurst family after they bring him back to the upper world as he fixes his glasses, leaving the Duke of Bahurst in disbelief. He tries to argue that Crest is the fifth son, so he cannot be the Duke right now, but Ella's father tells him that this is why he is reasoning with the king, because it is going to be difficult bringing him back otherwise, and when the king asks why, Ella's father tells him that he was treated as a liar, as a criminal, and sent to the lower world without ever being loved by his family. So it is possible that he has a hate against all of the country, leaving everyone present in the hall scared. He adds that if Crest gets such a position of power, he will be able to punish the Bahurst family on his own, just like they did to him, making the brothers even more fearful of his return. The Duke of Bahurst begs the king to do anything else but that, though the king reminds him that the Duke is there to protect the country however he can, and so if Crest asks for the title upon his return, he will be given it without question, leaving the Duke of Bahurst on his knees as he gets towered over by the king's shadow, and sits there in disbelief. Meanwhile, Ellis understands what her father did just now, which is that he used the relationship of herbs and crests to get the power of two dukes, and then he will be strong enough to overthrow the king, and one day the Reifeld family will take over the throne, but that solely depends on the fact that she and Crest has a good relationship. Ellis steels herself that she will apologize to Crest for everything that she has done to him all of their lives, and that she really does not care about her father's plan because she wants to change the relationship between them. Meanwhile, in the lower world, Crest gains a skill called Bestowal Magic, which lets him add abilities to weapons and armors. He gives it a try instantly by grabbing his sword and thinking of a skill to add to it, though he can only add one to it, so he chooses the slashing technique as he gets excited about thinking how cool it looks. After completing this task, Crest smells something familiar from behind him and follows it to an open field where he is surprised to see the sea that stretches far ahead to the horizon with a grassy hill on its side. Crest stands there and takes the calm noises of the sea waves in and relaxes. He realizes that the sea is similar to that of in the upper world, but the faraway distance is covered in smoke. But that is what the humans undertake to be a smoke barrier, without knowing what lies ahead of it as he takes a walk on the beach. He remembers how so many tries were given to people to go and check out what the truth is about the smoke, but none of those people returned, and so people stopped trying to learn about it. After moving along the shore for a while, he sees that there is a pier built on the shore, which is a pathway for people who want to travel the sea with boats. He reaches the footing of the pier and realizes that there is no boat, meaning that whoever was here got bored of fishing and decided to move, or that he got into an accident that left him unable to return from the sea. Regardless of the reason, Crest decides to use his fishing abilities to fish for some food because he wants to eat seafood now, after spending a lot of his days on monster meat and wild fruits. He sits by the edge of the pier and waits for the fish to take bait, for which he does not have to wait for long as he feels something good grabbing onto his rod. He thinks that it might be something big as it is causing such a fuss, but when he pulls it out from the sea, he is met with a subhuman creature called the Sagwa Genie, which had a body like humans but has a skin of a fish and has a lance to attack. Crest gets absolutely shocked to see it fly out of the sea so unexpectedly. The Sago Genie attacks Crest upon first sight, which he manages to dodge, but then he is pushed back to the pier and they both get into a standoff. He realizes that the spear has a long range, and that makes it difficult for him to get close to the fish monster on this narrow place. So he takes out his sword and decides to use the bestowal magic skill he just learned as it seems like the right time. He uses the sword from a distance and swings it vertically, which sends a slicing wave towards the Sago Genie, and because it is difficult to see, the attack reaches the monster and slices across its body. That startles the monster as it screams in pain, loses its balance and drops blood, which gives Crest a chance to quickly jump towards the monster and stab it in the heart, killing it entirely. He stands there looking at the body with his sword still stuck in it, and gets 200 points for killing the monster. Crest wonders if he will be able to kill such monsters in just one strike if he raises the levels of his skills, but as he was here to fish originally, he decides to use the level 2 fishing technique again, but sees a swarm of Sago Genius coming towards him, which irritates him as he was here to get some seafood. However, his appraisal skill tells him that a Sago Genie is safe to eat, but he still runs away from there as he does not want to eat something so scary. Though he continued fishing for a while there, but all he did was pull out Sago Genius from the sea and kill them to get points. After taking away the Duke of Bahurst's title from him, the king appoints a stuffed teddy bear as the representative of the Bahurst family and asks the Duke of Refeld to take care of the search of Crest, which he accepts, while people look at the bear in confusion. The Duke of Mycelium happily asks the king to let them help in this search too, as they have the hero herself, Minyu, to save such an important person, presenting him like a new item. Everyone stares at him in disbelief and then start to complain that they need a savior to stay back at the country. So the king reminds the Duke of Mycelium that Minyu's skill, Strike of the True Hero, is really powerful, and so if they are attacked by many monsters while she is gone, who will save them? Though the Duke manages to convince the king that Crest is in a much more dangerous situation than they are, and that they are limited on time, so they should just send all of their powerful resources to get him, which the king agrees to but asks Minyu's opinion on this first. She happily accepts the duty, which the king finds extremely cute as his eyes are replaced by hearts, so he tells her that he is depending on her, and sends everyone away as the meeting is finished. Though Alice makes one final request that she should also be given the permission to join the search, since she has such a powerful skill as well, which has made her body strong as well, plus she is Crest's fiancée, so it makes sense that she is the better choice for this mission. This makes Minyu really angry as she knows how she treated him before, but while the king thinks about how true her statement is, Alice knows that she is no longer his fiancée. Minyu raises her hand and tells the king that sending Alice along is not a good, and as she walks towards him, she tells him that Crest would always talk to her about how he is depressed and mentally destroyed because of Ellis' violent behavior towards him, quoting his exact words. Hearing this, Ellis loses it as her real personality just got exposed in front of a crowd, and she tries to stop Minyu from talking any further, saying that whatever she is saying is not true and she should shut up. But Minyu continues to tell the king that Crest will run away from fear the moment he sees Ellis coming towards him, which will just make it more difficult for them to bring him back home. She puts the final nail in the coffin that he just might commit suicide if he sees Ellis coming towards him, even in the lower world, which makes Ellis cover her mouth with her own hands as she angrily screams at her to just shut her mouth. After a moment of silence, the king asks the embarrassed Ellis if what Minyu said is true, but because it is, Ellis struggles to turn around and face him. She then just straight up admits that she was really harsh towards Crest all his life, while she grabs tightly onto Minyu's hair, who has sat there thinking that she lied about hearing Crest directly complain to her. Though Ellis takes this opportunity to say that she only did that to him because she is her fiancé, while Minyu would look at him in a lustful way even when she knew their relationship, as Ellis makes a fake crying face, showing that she is hurt, making the king Jumo from his throne in shock. Minyu immediately gets up and denies this claim, saying that she always treated Crest as a friend, and then she turns her eyes towards Ellis in anger, saying that if she was jealous because of their friendship, all she had to do was tell her to stop directly at her face, instead of taking it all out on Crest by torturing him so much. Ellis does not back down and tells her that she warned her before as well, but she did not listen, so it will not have changed unless she talked to Crest, while also giving Minyu a side eye full of anger. The king gets progressively more mad at the two of them as he grows tired of hearing both of them blame each other for not talking properly about their treatments towards Crest, and shouts at them to stop, while they glare each other with such murderous intent that it feels like lightning striking. The king throws a tantrum as he gets annoyed and says that he really does not care who does it, he just wants someone to bring back Crest. Later in the hallway, Minyu asks Ellis about her plan to bring back Crest, which she says is just talking to him and convincing him to come back to the upper world, and that her father has an amazing gift prepared for him for when he comes back. Minyu guesses that it's just the title of the Duke that she is going to give to Crest, which Ellis thinks is an amazing idea by her father, indicating that Crest of all people will be given a title of the Duke, as she laughs loudly and in a high and mighty tone. Though Minyu gets irritated and tells Ellis that she already knew her intentions. Minyu tells Ellis that she knew that Ellis has no idea about what Crest is like, which stops Ellis from laughing. Minyu then continues that Crest has always been a fan of freedom, but Ellis says that he gets to be the Duke of a kingdom instead of freedom, which will get him all the money and houses he wants, but Minyu tells her that this is not what will make him happy, and then insults Ellis that it is of no use telling her more about him, which makes her angry. Minyu then takes her leave and greets Ellis goodbye, who tries to stop her from going but to no avail as she is left irritated about not knowing what Crest actually wanted. She wonders what freedom really is. Meanwhile, in the lower world, on a mountainous path, and Crest stares nervously at the GACHA orbs, thinking that it is his last day using the April limited GACHA, and that every time he did the 11 roll, he got at least one rainbow orb, and to completely max them out at level 3, he needs to get them at least 4 times, and now he needs just one more cultivation to max it out as well, like he has done with appraisal and healing. He uses the orbs with hope that he will get another cultivation, which he does as the orb reveals cultivation, and he gets excited about it since it was a rare chance and the month was about to end, leading him to celebrate and shout in happiness. He then returns to the cave he was using to live in the lower world and decides that he will leave it today, because he got a silver skill construction when he used GACHA yesterday, so now he can build a home, and his patience has been finally rewarded as he will build it right now. Excitedly, he chooses a spot where he is going to build his house and gathers a lot of trees he cut down in one pile, along with cement gathered on a mat besides the wood pile. He chose this spot because it is on a bit higher land, and then there is a place to fish for food nearby as well, and it also has leads to areas that have not been explored yet. He then gets started by activating the skill which brings a huge screen in front of him, but because he is level 1, he does not have access to many types and sizes of houses, though it does not matter because he is alone in this world. He already collected so much material to build a house with, so he chooses a floor plan after scrolling through them for a while and taps on the house he decided. Automatically, the entire house gets built in front of him in a second, with all the materials used that he collected. The house is like a shed with strong wooden base, a door with glass, a lantern for light, and small stair at the entrance. Crest gets surprised that it took no effort for him at all, and he is impressed by the build quality of the house that will protect him from attacks of monsters if he does get attacked. He enters the house by taking permission as a sort of tradition and finds a really solid and comfortable interior with a single bed already placed inside, a chimney to keep him warm, and a window on the side wall with curtains. He uses his appraisal skill to know that the windows are made from the beach sand, while the curtains are made from the monster furs he collected, and that he also has a kitchen to cook on by the chimney, which is something he always wanted to own, though he prefers to cook his own food by himself rather than using a skill because then the food becomes tasteless as compared to the delicious home cooking. As Crest has nothing else to do in the lower world except for exploring the world and collect points for GACHA, he took a liking to cooking as he imagines all of the delicious meals, making his mouth drool. After that, he tries out the bed, and as soon as he jumps on it, he sinks into it, which makes him weirdly excited. The bed's mattress is made up of a sheep's wool, which Crest finds even softer than the one at this parent's house. After that, he looks around and notices the calendar with the date April on it, and that makes him get up and open the GACHA screen in front of him, making him realize that this was the main reason his new life started. He then proceeds to check his statistics after using the GACHA skill for a while, before the month changes, and realizes that everything has been improved to over a 100, with the GACHA points being 50,000, out of which he has used 40,000 in rolling for new skills, making it 88 times that he has used the skill so far. This reminds him that how he was ironically kicked out of the upper world for having a fake skill, when now he has 30 different kinds of skills to use at once. He feels a little disturbed that he got his life changed to such a degree, but now he has to accept having all of these skills, seeing how he can now even build a house in just a second. He drops back on his bed and thinks that he has to really talk to someone with skills so that he can understand this feeling of many skills. This leads to him to the fact that he had a skill, alongside appraisal and healer, that lets him make friends out of monsters and raise them oneself. He notices that just tomorrow will be May, so he may get a new selection of skills in it as the month changes, though he turns to the side of his bed, rejecting that an ability can be as convenient that he gets everything he needs at the moment, and then he starts to get negative thinking about how he might just not get a limited edition gacha tomorrow, or that the remaining 10,000 points he has will disappear, which makes him wonder if he should have just used them, or there might be an announcement in May for his points. Though he gives up on the thinking as he loves the fluffy bed she is laying on, saying how it will make people lazy. Meanwhile, at the Duke of the Bahurst's house, the upper world, one of the brothers, swinging on the chair and having his feet on the table, expresses his frustrations about how Crest has made them feel disrespected at the appraisal ceremony and the talks with the king, which makes the other brother tease him by saying that he complained about this to the new head of the Bahurst family, Crest, which makes the previous brother angrily argue with him that he never did bully Crest, which will make him safe from his punishments, and then they both start blaming each other for the horrible things they did to Crest, which is when their father smashes his fist onto the table, screaming at them to stop their childish fighting, and asks them, with a scared air of his life face, about who is going to save Crest. While the brothers who were fighting about how they did not bully Crest, they turn away from the idea to go down to the lower world and bring him back as they both feel guilty of actually doing those horrible things to him. But then a third brother raises his hand, offering to go and get Crest, which shocks their father as he makes sure with him. Albert, the brothers who agreed to go, makes a very evil face as he tells his father that he has a secret plan to bring back Crest and that he will definitely bring him back without fail. Meanwhile, Crest sleeps in his fluffy bed and warm cover so peacefully that he starts to drool. Before entering the lower world, Albert is handed a slave collar for him to wear, so that he follows the orders given to him without question, though the servant who gave it to him reminds Albert that it is only to be used on a criminal, and so he should not use it on Crest, which makes Albert angry at the servant as he threatens to burn him down for trying to tell what he should do. At the huge, dark gate that connects the upper and lower world, Albert is told that only the side tunnel, guarded by 2 knights, is accessible, so he has to go through there, and is warned by the servant that he should be really careful down in the lower world as it is filled with demonic monsters that do not care who they are facing as they think of it as a way to strengthen their bodies. Albert, though, confidently tells him that the 20 knights of the Bahurst family that he is bringing with him to the lower world should be enough to handle a small little monster, as they all follow him. Albert thinks that he might be overdoing it with this number of knights, and thinks that it will be easy to get Crest back, and calls his eldest and youngest brothers idiots for not taking this opportunity, as he is going to turn Crest into a slave by putting this collar on him, and get all the power for himself, while making a cunning face. He calls to his little army and makes the decision of entering the lower world. Meanwhile, tomorrow finally arrives, which means May has begun, and so Crest wakes up from his sleep as soon as he realizes that it's morning, and then he immediately opens up his gacha screen, which without surprise, had a different set of skills this time around as well, with one of them being a monster taming, along with 2 skills that go hand in hand, monster training and summoning. He excitedly screams about the new gacha being finally here, over and over again. He gets outside his house and decides to roll for the gacha as he has 10,000 points, meaning that he can use the skill twice, and with 11 guaranteed orbs, he will get 1 rainbow for sure, which will give him one of the 3 rare skills, and so he presses the button. The usual routine happens where the chest falls from the sky. Crest opens up the lock and the chest's lid opens, revealing a big light from which 11 orbs fly out. Crest is surprised to see a new silver skill called the Monster Evolution Technique, plus the Summoner skill that he just got, and these skills can be used one after the another, like summoning a monster he has made friends with, and then raising that monster. Though he finds these useless until he has made a monster friend, which the skill clearly states as well, calling the situation unregistered monsters, so he decides to roll the gacha a second time as he might get a monster taming skill in his next one. After just one more roll, Crest successfully gets all the 3 new rare skills from the rainbow orbs, and now he can make friends with the monsters without having any troubles. Using these skills, along with the things he learned at the Noble Academy about making friends with the monsters, which is just punching them really hard with in the name of affection, but not strong enough to kill them. And since Crest has no choice but to convey these feelings to the goblin he is brutally attacking, he continues on with the treatment, though getting more and more embarrassed as he does not understand the concept of love attack, having a flashback to a bloody hand of Albert as he beats on someone with a satisfactory smile. Even though he does not like torturing the goblins in front of him, even to the point that he screams to stop himself, Crest punches the goblin with an uppercut, sending it up in the air and knocking it back down on the ground. Crest wonders if he has killed the goblin, which is when 3 hearts pop up on top of the goblin, which confuses him for a second as he stares at the goblin's body, and then uses the monster-taining skill on it, making the goblin get right back up. The screen confirms that the goblin is now Crest's friend, and it is a female, and so he asks her if she is okay, and that he did not know she was a female, to which the goblin just replies with a "go-boo," which is an all-purpose answer in her language. Crest squats down to the tired and exhaustion from beating up the goblin so much, and so moves his hand towards her for a handshake. However, the many times Crest moves his hand towards the goblin, she slaps it away every time, for some reason, and does not understand that she is supposed to shake it even after Crest explaining it to her many times. When his hand finally starts to swell due to the many slaps it got, Crest uses the appraisal skill to find that the goblin is an idiot because she has an intelligence of just 1. This makes Crest realize that he already had a hard time making friends. But this is even more difficult than before, though as he closes his eyes to relax, he is reminded of how his brothers treated him for being so skill-less, and that his existence is not of any significance, which makes Crest feel the same towards the goblin in front of him. But instead of cussing her out or hitting her, Crest pats her head gently and decides to take things slowly, which Thin Goblin likes as she throws her hands in the air in excitement. Crest kindly thinks that the goblin is not useless, and that he will turn her into a great warrior with a gentle smile on his face. After this, Crest uses the summoning skill on the goblin, which then brings another goblin to him out of a magical circle from the ground. The goblin looks around in confusion, making Crest laugh as he likes his reaction and thinks about how this summoning speed can help him attack someone by surprise. Though the goblin tries to tell him something, Crest brushes it off as something else. But then he hears a different kind of sound from a faraway place, which the goblin tries to tell him that that is where he needs to go, but Crest just ignores it as something he just might be hearing. Meanwhile, in the upper world, with a bunch of dead bodies of humans and goblins alike fallen to the ground, with their body parts cut off and blood everywhere, Albert stands there and shouts in frustration over the fact that he lost his entire army to a bunch of goblins whom he has been fighting for a while now, but that was enough to push him and his army to their ends. He grabs one of the detection team's member and scolds him for not using his detection skill properly, as he told them to, though the member apologizes and tells him that the heavy smoke around the area makes it difficult to find anyone, let alone Crest, and even standing in it makes it feel like they are losing their magic power slowly. Though Albert gets even more angry and throws the member on the ground and starts kicking his head violently, blaming him for being useless and causing this massacre in the first place. While he continues to beat the member to the point that blood comes out of his head, Albert admits in his mind that the smoke really is heavy around here, which made the knight only able to put in half of what they are capable of. Albert stops after completely deforming the face of the member to the point that it is all bloody and swelled up. He asks the member about the injured people, so he tells him that they're 5, though no one is in condition to move on after having such bad wounds, so they should retreat for now. Albert moves on without a care in the world, and tells the remaining 2 uninjured knights to follow him for the search of Crest, and that they will come back to collect the injured knights if they are alive by then. The knights feel that this is a stupid decision to make and express their anger towards Albert, and while he is busy in thinking about how he and his knights are in no position to go back to the upper world with such a horrible defeat against mere goblins who only fought them because they cannot think for themselves, and so his position at the Bahurst family will be in trouble if he fails here, one of the knights scream at him that he does not want to follow Albert anymore and that he needs to go back to the upper world right now, while the other knight tries to stop him. Before he knew it, the knight who screamed at Albert to go back to the upper world, he got his mouth stabbed to all the way to the back of his head by a fast swing of the sword from Albert, showering his blood all over the place. Albert pulls out his bloody sword and places it on his shoulder, and asks the other 2 frightened knights if they remember who their leader is, and reminds them that all that oppose him meet the same fate as the knight he just killed, while looking at them with menacing eyes. Another knight comes around and alerts Albert that he found some footprints that seem like a trail left behind by a human. but he is unable to tell if it is left behind by Crest, since he never really knew him much, let alone how his shoes were like, but they decide to follow it anyways. Meanwhile, Crest and the goblin befriend a female wolf, and when he checks her intelligence, it turns out to be 20, which is much higher than the goblin's, making her worried about herself. The goblin starts making noises which annoys Crest as he asks her about what is it that she wants checked, so she points to the name bar on her forehead, which Crest notices and decides to name them as they are his friends now, so it will be weird calling them a goblin and a wolf. He then gives the goblin the name Goblia, and as soon as the name is confirmed, she turns into an actual little girl with an appropriate look, and so it makes Crest wonder if it was because of the monster evolution skill he got earlier, which has also increased her statistics, while Goblia checks out her body in confusion. The wolf sees this and immediately asks Crest for a name for herself as well, so Crest gives her the name Ruffna, wondering if the wolf will also turn into a lady like Goblia, though the evolution for Ruffna just involved her getting bigger in size, so he happily grabs and raises her as he finds this change cool. Then the three of them group up and Crest tells them that he, Ruffna, and Goblia are three friends who will live in the lower world together, calling them precious. The three of them happily hug each other and decide to work together from now, but when Crest notices that the sun is going down, both Ruffna and Goblia notice something approaching them and immediately go into defense mode and covers Crest's back. Both of them glare and grit their teeth towards the person that is coming near to them, and while Crest slowly turns around, asking both of them about what is wrong, he sees someone he recognizes from his old horrible life. A person who has bullied him all of his life, and now that he has even come to the lower world, in Crest's new life, he is left too stunned to speak as he realizes that the human scream he heard earlier was not just something he misheard, and that it was most probably caused by the person standing in front of him. Turns out, it is his brother, the second son of the Bahurst family, Albert, who makes a creepy face towards Crest, finally finding out where he was hiding in the lower world. In a flashback of Crest's previous life in the upper world as the child who killed his mother, he lays on the ground with the body of a dead pet laying in front of him, all bloody and unable to move. It was Albert who did this to the two of them, as he reminds Crest that he is nothing more than just a parent killer, and so he does not deserve anything to be happy about in his life. Albert tells his servants to throw away the body of the animal, while he grabs Crest's face up by his hair as he reveals his swollen face with blood and tears all over it. Albert threatens him by saying that he will never be forgiven by him for as long as he lives, and Crest should prepare himself for the torture he will receive for the rest of his life. In present time in the lower world, Albert faces off with Crest and his two friends, Goblia and Ruffna, but Crest seems way too nervous and tensed after seeing Albert, who just stands there and smiles with an evil look. Crest wonders why he is even here right now, but Albert just does a casual greeting towards him, as if nothing has ever happened between the two of them. He walks closer to Crest, saying that it is his lucky day as he was able to find him, though Crest just straight up asks him about the reason for him being in the lower world, which stuns Albert, but then he brushes away that question, saying that he should be more happier to be able to meet his brother after a while. He makes up a story about who they sent Crest down to the lower world as a sort of a joke, and now they are sorry about that, so he will be bringing him back to the upper world. Crest, in disbelief, confronts Albert about how can such a dangerous thing where he was almost killed be a joke to him, but he just tells him that he is alive, so it is of no problem now. Albert, however, realizes that Crest is not angry with him right now. He is just afraid to see him, as it is the result of all of them putting fear and despair in Crest's mind for them all of his life, and now he can no longer oppose them. He then admits in his mind to use Crest's super rare skill to his use, as he commands his knights that if any of them even showed a single indication that they are scared of that monster, he will kill them all later, which they all accept out of fear as well. Albert moves in closer to Crest and sees Ruffna, so he asks him if he is keeping a pet again, which he is obviously going to fail later as it will die. Crest denies that Ruffna is not a pet and he was not the one who killed his previous pet in the upper world, as she growls at Albert since he is coming closer to her friend. But Albert forcefully insists upon the fact that Crest was the reason it died because he is useless and weak, making Crest irritated and increasing his nervousness. Albert turns around and makes a rude remark that since Crest is unable to handle a single monster, he is taking him back, which makes Ruffna and Goblia angry. But then Crest denies Albert that he is not going back to the upper world. Albert turns around and calmly replies that he understands his feelings, but as Crest steels himself, Thinking that he has overcome his fear of his brothers, Albert shouts at him in a maniacal way, reminding Crest that he needs to learn how to talk to him with honor and that the language he is using right now is not what he should be using. This shout completely breaks Crest, from his brain to his heart. He feels like that they are going to get crushed because of how scared he is, but Albert continues to keep screaming at him about telling his monsters to shut up because they are too loud. Crest starts to shake in fear and is unable to do anything while Albert towers over him, saying that he will cut his current pet's throat as well like he did last time, and it will again be Crest Falls, who has no choice but slowly apologize as he grabs his chest tightly. Looking at such a miserable sight, Albert smiles as this was his secret plan, to make Crest remember his trauma, and it worked. Crest's brain jumps between the two sides, with one telling him that he can win against Albert because he has improved so much ever since he came to the lower world, while the other side of his brain is trapped in trauma of his previous life, telling him that he is scared and that he will get beaten up again if he opposes Albert, who is fully aware of the situation is going in Crest's mind right now. Ruffna gets progressively mad and starts to approach the knights as she grits her teeth and growls at them, which scares the knights, but they realize that they cannot show it on their faces, otherwise Albert will kill them. Though, Crest realizes the danger he and his friends are in and shouts at everyone to stop what they are doing, as going against his brother means that he will get beaten up again, and the obvious fear on his face with sweat all over it and him shaking so much with his eyes fully open in worry. Albert sees that his plan has completely taken over and starts to laugh violently at Crest's face, and agrees that what Crest did right now is their correct decision, as he should just shut up and listen to what he is told to do, and then proceeds to shout at Crest again and again about how much of a weak and useless person he is, and that he will get hit again if he dares to talk back, while Crest agrees to any and everything he says because he is so fearful of him. Albert rests easy knowing that his plan worked so well that he did not even have to use the slate collar he brought with him, as there was already a collar around his neck which he had implanted in his brain from ever since they were kids. Albert commands the guards to take Crest away, so they handcuff him with chains and start to walk. Goblia sees this and tries to approach Crest, calling out to him, but one of the guards kicks her away, calling her a disgusting monster. She gets knocked back but holds her ground, though the punch causes her face to swell and her mood turn to anger. But when she looms at Crest, it goes away as she sees him looking back at her with a pitiful face and tears running down from his eyes. He apologizes to her in his head, regretting that he called her a friend and told her that he was going to make her an amazing warrior, but could not do it as he is weak and useless. She gets up again and starts running around Crest, trying to remind him of something by doing whatever she can, as she just cannot speak right now. She makes a hopeful and cheerful face towards him, which leaves Crest wondering about what she is doing, but then just jumps into a bush and goes away, leaving him stunned to see what just happened. While everyone else laughs at Goblia for leaving Crest behind, he falls into much deeper despair that this was the last time he met his friends, and that even after he came to the lower world and got such amazing skills, this is the best he can do, which is basically nothing much. While he thinks about his failures, Ruffna grabs his jacket with her mouth and drags him back, which causes all the knights around him to aim their swords towards her and surround her. Crest hesitates but asks Ruffna to let him go and tells her that she is going to get beaten by his brother if she continues to do this, because staying here a little while longer will make his brother kill her. Albert sees all of this and his patience runs past his limits, so he screams in frustration and gets behind Crest to order him to kill Ruffna, and if he is able to do that, he will stop calling Crest useless. Crest listens to this order and starts to cry even more as he imagines Albert as an evil cloud who threatens to kill Ruffna himself and keep calling Crest a useless person. This makes Crest conflicted between his two decisions, that he just cannot kill her because she is his friend, but he also wants to stop his brother from telling him that he is useless, so he closes his eyes to think about his decision. As Crest is forced to choose between killing Ruffna or be called useless all of life, he and the others are shocked by sudden loud cries of goblins all around them. The knights get confused about if this is the goblin they left go of earlier, while Albert gets more angrier by the second, so he throws Crest onto the ground and blames him for the fact that Goblia has returned with so many goblins to help him. As he lies onto the ground, Crest thinks to himself that he knew his brother was going to hit him, yet he cannot hear his voice anymore, which makes him feel strangely refreshed because he can feel the warmth in Rufia's fur as she is close by, and the only voice he can hear is Goblia's as he recognizes it from somewhere before. He thinks back at the time he summoned her, and how she would act so impatient to tell him about something. And even now, when he was being taken away, she wanted to say something, which is when he realizes that she was telling to call out to her when he is in trouble. He takes a deep breath and shouts her name, while Goblia stands on top of a tree branch and gets ready for the command. She repeatedly shouts her battle cry for Crest to hear, who finally overcomes the feeling of scared and fear and turns it into motivation and determination that he can do it. He can bring back his friend because he cannot overcome his fears alone, and that he can win by using their help. So he stands up and activates the summoner skill instantly, bringing out Goblia from the ground as he created a magic circle. And she uses that element of surprise to charge at Albert, causing him to be caught off guard as he shouts in confusion because he did not see this coming. Goblia punches his in the face with full force as she stretches her arm across his face while gritting her teeth in anger, knocking him back with such force that he crashes onto a tree, leaving his mouth filled with blood as he throws it out. Albert, unable to understand how Goblia came out of nowhere and punched him, falls to the ground. She comes running towards Crest in excitement and celebrates, which also lightens Crest's mood as he gets happy to see her come back and help him, and calls her intelligent while petting her head. Albert, still on the ground and his back by the tree, screams at Crest for hitting him, and now he will kill him as he is no longer family, but Crest tells him that this is something he should be saying, as he creates a magic sword out of the handcuffs that were on his hands. Crest continues to tell Albert that he was never his brother from the start, and he feels no attachment towards him, while Albert is shocked to see the skill Crest just used to create that sword. Crest comes closer to Albert and points his sword towards him, declaring him his enemy from this moment onwards. Despite having a metal sword faced toward him, Albert does not back down from the threat and uses his magic to melt it down into an irregular shape, while Crest also stares him down with a determined look. Crest takes a stare back after his sword got ruined, and Albert slowly but angrily gets up, reminding Crest of what happens when he dares to defy him. He orders his knights to kill Ruffna right now, and that there is no need for them to be afraid of her, and even if they are hesitant, they have to listen to his commands because they are knights, and knights are supposed to listen to a lord's order, even if they are asked to stab each other. The knights hesitatingly charge towards Goblia and Ruffna, but both of them easily defeat all of them in an instant, which leaves Albert completely shocked at what just happened, while Crest makes him realize that there was no need for him to be scared of Ruffna and Goblia, as he too heard their cries from before, which clearly indicated that they are ready for battle, which Albert's knights knew, and now he cannot defeat the three of them in strength. Albert screams in anger at Crest going on about winning the fight and calls him a stupid man, while activating his fire magic in both of his hands. He confidently laughs because his fire magic is at level 5, which makes him the strongest fire user in the upper world, so Crest, Goblia, and Ruffna do not even stand a chance against him, and so he fires the massive fireball towards Crest. Though the fireball was fast, it got easily blocked by Crest's earth magic as he used it to create a block of wall in front of him from the ground, which confuses Albert as he wonders how Crest got so many skills in the time he was in the lower world, but calms himself down, saying that he can just burn the mud wall in front of him by firing continuous fireballs at it, and so increases the power of the magic to shoot a fire cannon at the wall. The mud wall stays intact, and only its surface burned after successive fire cannons shot at it by Albert, and so he expresses his frustrations about not being able to break the wall and asks Crest if he can use a level 5 or higher magic, but Crest tells him that his earth magic is only level 3, which makes Albert wonder if the strong effect is a side power up of the divine GACHA skill he got. Crest picks up on the fact that Albert mentioned his divine skill and asks if that was the real reason he actually came to the lower world, so Albert diverts his eyes from him as he was embarrassed that his secret got revealed. So he tries to be the nice guy and tell Crest about how his skill was to be used in the upper world originally, and now that there has been a case of monsters coming to the upper world to destroy it, it only tells them that more monsters will start to come and attack, but Crest, Ruffna, and Goblia stare at him without a reaction. Albert drops down to his knees and begs Crest to come back with him to the upper world and save the world, but even when pleading for help, all he is thinking about is finding a blind spot to attack Crest when he is not looking, as this is a big humiliation for him, to beg an useless person. Crest walks towards him and gets down on one knee and asks Albert to raise his head, calling him brother, but instantly gets stabbed in his shoulder by Crest, who reminds him that he is only in the lower world because the people of the upper world abandoned him, and so he does not care about what they do or what happens to them. Crest then starts to drag his sword further down his body to cause him even more pain, making him scream without control as he is unable to bear the pain. Albert thinks to himself that this is too much, and he will die by the hands of the person he belittled all of his life, while his eyes look like they will pop out of his face because of the pain he is facing right now. Crest pulls his sword out of Albert's shoulder and watches him make a face that he is not familiar to, but he still thinks that this is not enough punishment for him, so Crest takes his sword and stabs Albert in the leg. Albert tries to convince Crest to let him go by saying that their father has been regretful about banning Crest to the lower world, and he will be given the title of the Duke upon his return, which makes the power and money of the Bahurst family Crest's, though he rejects it by saying that he does not want any such thing. Seeing Albert in pain and crying, Crest subconsciously tells himself that stabbing Albert in the leg will make him unable to walk anymore, and so he will not be able to go home, but on the outside, he seems to be enjoying the sight of Albert begging and crying for him to stop. Crest's inner voice tells him to kill Albert right here, but is stopped when Goblia grabs onto his jacket and calls out to him, bringing him back to the reality. Crest calms himself down and uses his magic water and his healer skill to fix the wounds he caused on Albert, which leaves Albert shocked, but then Crest tells him to leave right now and tell the people in the upper world as he has lost to him that they should not get involved with him because the next person will not return alive. Crest turns around and starts to walk away because if he had killed Albert, he would have been no different than him because he is no longer a member of the Bahurst family and is now just known as Crest. He happily grabs the hands of Goblia and Rufma and tells them to go with him, but Albert makes a sinister face upon seeing this opportunity because he is just that evil by nature and decides to use the slave collar he brought with him on Crest as he has no idea about it. He thinks about how he will pay back Crest for the humiliation he has caused him after he makes him his slave so that he will be tortured for his entire life. But while he is so fixated on the collar, goblins from behind him jump down and kick him in the back of his head. Crest turns around to see many goblins holding Albert down and strip him off all of his clothes and use 2 big stones to break his calves so that he cannot walk anymore, while he cries and screams from the immense pain he has been caused yet again. Seeing this, Crest remembers how goblins attack the opposite gender during their personal sessions, and so looks back at Goblia, wondering if he is in trouble as well. The goblins give a thumbs up to Goblia as they all smile for a job well done, and take Albert away with them as he continues to scream in frustration. Later, sitting at a log and eating fruits with Goblia and Rufma, he wonders if this is the good ending he wanted. He appreciates them both for bringing him snacks, and as he takes a bite, he looks at the sky and thinks about how GACHA was a divine skill, that much he knew, but to be strong enough to save the upper world is something he did not expect. He then wonders what would happen to that world without him, making him feel bad for Minyu to be give the job to fight all the monsters by herself, not caring about Ellis one bit. Goblia and Rufna cry and whine to him because he was going to leave them alone, but he reassures them that he will not be going anywhere after this since he was worried about them too, and then confronts Goblia for looking at something weird a while ago, which makes her blush as she hides her face and turns around in embarrassment. Crest ignores that reaction and gets up to stretch because it has been a long, eventful day for him, so then he finally tells the 2 of them to go with him to his home, which they both excitedly accept, and stare at the sunset behind the tall forest trees when suddenly they all hear a loud noise that startles them. Upon hearing the loud noise, Crest expresses his annoyance that he really wanted to go home, but now he might be dealing with a potential monster near them, but it will be a problem if they have to fight the monster on their way home, so it is better to make sure of the situation before they leave. So he uses his new skill called the perception technique to find out that a blade cow is fighting against a person who appears to be a human. But when he looks closely at her, he feels something different about her. Meanwhile, the girl and the blade cow are in a face-off against each other. The girl, with her tiny stature, tries to swing the heavy sword but completely misses the giant blade cow in front of her and drops the sword because she could not handle it. But the blade cow does not wait around and does a battle cry before attacking the girl with the giant blade on its head. The girl closes her eyes and takes cover, ready to receive the attack, but when she opens her eyes after a sound she heard, she sees Crest blocking the blade of the cow with his sword, using his full force to protect the girl. He looks at the girl who stares at him with worrying eyes, and tells her that he is going to help her if she understands what he is saying, to which she surprisingly agrees to as she understands human speech. He calls in Goblia and Ruffna to help him defeat the Blade Cow, which they successfully do, and Crest receives 200 points for taking it down. The girl thanks them for their help, which Crest humbly accepts. He, concerned about her, asks the girl if she is okay as she was shaking quite a bit. But before the girl can answer him, she struggles to speak and falls down to the ground, looking like she is in pain and has become weak. Crest uses his appraisal skill on her, which tells him that the girl is affected by a very deadly poison, and she only has 2 minutes and 42 seconds left to live, so he quickly starts to work on a medicine to help her. He completes the medicine very quickly and makes her drink it in a wooden cup, and upon drinking it, she quickly heals from the poison and cheerfully gets up, saying that the unpleasant feeling in her body went away after she drank the delicious liquid Crest gave her. While she is going on about praising the drink, he stares at her very creepily, wondering if she really is a human after all. But because he felt something different about her, when he looked at her with the perception technique, he realized that she is not human, nor a monster, so he just asks her hesitatingly if she is a human. To answer his question, she slowly removes her hood to reveal her horns and pointy ears, and asks Crest if he thinks that she is a human. And so, while he is amazed by what he is seeing in front of him, the girl introduces herself as the Goblin Queen. After coming in contact with the Goblin Queen, Crest feels a little confused, but he soon remembers that he learned about such beings at the Knights Academy, where they told the students that some demi-humans like the Goblin Queen are born with different, yet stronger abilities than the rest of their kind, thus giving them the title of king or queen. While Crest processes the information, the Goblin Queen puts her hands together and pleads to Crest about saving her village, while making a very sad face and teary eyes. Crest asks her to explain what she means by saving her village, so she tells him that there is a small village in the middle of the mountain a little further away, and it has been attacked by giant flying poisonous bugs that have made all of the villagers ill, but they did manage to chase the monsters away from the village. She bows down to Crest because she is desperate, as if nothing is done to cure everyone living in that village, her entire race will die out, and continues to plead to Crest, who stares at her without a word. He then finally speaks up, telling the Goblin Queen that it is dangerous for her and everyone else to move through the forest in such darkness, so he uses a light magic which creates an orb that radiates light outwards in the forest, and then asks the Goblin Queen about the number of people that were poisoned, but she is distracted by the bright ball in the air and keeps looking at it, after answering Crest that 10 people have been poisoned. He takes that information into account and decides to collect some materials for the medicine along the way to the village, which surprises the Goblin Queen as she did not expect him to save the village. But Crest says that he has no reason to decline and that he will do whatever he can to help, which makes the Goblin Queen so happy that she starts to get really teary-eyed. Crest asks Ruffna and Goblia if they are okay with more walking, which they both happily agree to, and so the Goblin Queen thanks him gratefully, even saying that she will never forget this help for the rest of her life, which Crest finds to be an interesting deal. Though he asks her for a base in her village for him to use, and some helpers he can use for grunt work, she accepts the deal and tells her that she will give him help in whatever way she can, and so Crest agrees and asks her for the way to her village. Before they take off, the Goblin Queen asks them for their names, as they will now be practically living together, which gives Crest a moment of silence as he realizes it to be true, and so he introduces himself as Crest, the female goblin as Goblia, and then wolf female as Ruffna, and asks her name as well, so she tells him that she is Libya, and that she is a beginner in a life of survival, so she will be depending on Crest for his help. Meanwhile, in the upper world, Ellis and Minyu take a bath together in a bathhouse that seems to be in the middle of a garden surrounded by dragonflies. Minyu tells Ellis that Albert, the second son of the Bahurst family, brother of Crest, was sent to the lower world to bring him back, but Ellis is not aware of who he is, so Minyu makes a comment at her that she should know, as she was once his fiancée, though Ellis corrects her saying that she is still his fiancée, and that he does not care about anyone other than her Crest. Minyu complains that her Mycelian family were also going to send troops to bring back Crest, but because of the monster situation up here in the upper world, they were forced to make this a priority, but that does not explain why she has to be at the same bath as Ellis when she was sent to stay at this inn. However, Ellis has the same feelings towards her. Ellis asks her if Albert managed to bring back information regarding Crest, so Minyu tells her that he was only able to track the footprints of Crest, but no reports after that, so Ellis makes a comment on how the Bahurst family is only capable of so much, and this might be their limit. However, she is especially happy that Crest is still alive, and then she proceeds to mock Minyu that she should hurry as well if she wants to save Crest herself. Otherwise, troops of her family, the Riffeld house, will find Crest and bring him back home first. Minyu confidently tells Ellis that she can take the chance because she knows that Crest will not come back no matter who goes to get him out, and the only concern she has regarding Crest is that the life down in the lower world may not be as easy as it is in the upper world. Ellis, surprisingly concerned, asks Minyu if she will go down to the lower world with some clothes to give to Crest, as that is the only thing she can do because there is no return from there, which Minyu agrees to, as she also has accepted that she may not return from the cruel lower world. Meanwhile, in the lower world, Crest, the Goblin Queen, Rufna, and Goblia sit around a campfire in the middle of the forest, and Crest counts the poison bee needles and the poison snake fangs, which are 10 and 5 respectively, saying that they should be enough for the medicine. Livia, the Goblin Queen, vows down to apologize for not being able to help in gathering the materials, and that she is only slowing Crest down, but he reassures her that it is okay because she is still sick. Plus, Rufna and Goblia are always ready for a fight. While on their way to the village, Livia expresses her sympathies to Crest for his hard life in the upper world, which he must have told her on the way, but she also seems happy for him because of such a good skill like GACHA being given to him, as he helps her across a broken floor. Though he explains the complications of the skill because there are some skills he gets which he cannot use on their own, and so is a struggle to make them all work. So Livia makes a request to him about seeing how he uses the GACHA skill, with a smile on her face. After a while, they finally see the village in sight, and the people of the village also spot them, so they alert everyone. They get around Livia and scold her for vanishing without telling them, as they were all worried for her. So she apologizes and tells them that she did leave a note saying that she will be gone to look for a medicine. But they just get more mad because she was poisoned herself and no one to take care of her. She accepts their complaints, while simultaneously introducing Crest as the person who saved her, which the villagers get surprised to learn about as they call him a miracle worker. After looking at him closely, they get scared to see a human in their village, but Livia calms them down, saying that he is the actual savior, though their complaint about Crest is that he is part of the human race that banned them from the upper world and sent them to the lower world. But Livia, commanding, reminds them that the past cannot be changed, but now they have to work together for a cure. They all calm down and understand, and then take Crest to a clinic where all of the patients are laying on the bamboo floor and mats. Livia goes to one of the patients and tells him to drink the medicine, as he seems like the first person closest to death, and so the patient heals instantly, making him and his wife happy that they jump around while hugging each other. The others present get surprised to see how this actually is a miracle, and they immediately change their tones towards Crest by calling him the actual savior of their village, and they even apologize for their rudeness, while he tries to calm them down nervously. Livia jumps in and reminds them that there are other patients that need treatment, so they all should calm down, while also telling the patient that was just cured to settle down as he needs rest. But this order backfires at her, since the villagers remind her that she needs to rest as well, as she is always reckless and does things very selfishly without taking their feelings into consideration, and this makes Lydia feel overwhelmed. After the treatment was done, Livia invites Crest and his friends to live in her house for the night, as it has many guest rooms to stay in. Plus, she also expresses her wish nervously to give Crest a welcome present by doing a big banquet, seeing how she has been leaving her duty for a while now. Though Crest is okay with just the place to sleep for now, and while he is admiring the overall quality of the building, he expresses his disappointment about the bed being dry leaves, though Rufna and Goglia does not care and fell asleep right as they laid down. He talks to himself, saying that he has been on a rough road ever since he made these two girls his friends. He decides to rest as well, so he makes ice-cold glass of energy potions using his water magic, healing skill, and smithing technique. He thinks about if it is always the case that he has to think of the name of the skill before activating, because he did not actually have time to say the name of the smithing technique when he created that sword against Albert out of the chains. He sips on his drink and then stares at a candle that is lit up, so he thinks of using his skills to blow it out by thinking extinguish the fire. But that does not work. He just lets it go and lays down on his bed to sleep, but not before he goes through the many skills he has, and many circumstances he is in which he does not understand. The next day, a crowd gathers around Crest as he built another house, one that is as amazing as Lydia's, in just a second, leaving everyone gathered surprised at how quick and easy it was to build one, while Crest stands there as it is not something new for him. He He then offers the people whose house was destroyed during the monster attack that he will recreate their house again, the same as his, which the villagers hesitate for at first, because they are worried the monsters might attack again, but then they accept his gift and thank him gracefully. Lydia comes around as well and praises Crest's amazing skills, who humbly tells her that it was just luck that he got these skills, and then notices that she is going to cook. As she has a knife in her hands, she excitedly tells him that she has been working really hard for him. Crest looks at the small crab and immediately recognizes it as the baby of a scissors crab and suggests that it will taste good if it is served raw with sashimi. He further adds that the soup stock left over will make for a nice and delicious soap, though Livia and the other goblins stare at him for a moment and then question him about what he is talking about, as they have no idea. He then shows them by using a ladle and pouring the soup stock from it into a bowl, and when the meat is cooked in it, the flavors of it comes out, and then you add some spices or just some salt into it. Livia tries it and finds it absolutely delicious, which makes Crest happy as his recipe is appreciated, and she continues praising his skill that he even knows how to use the big metal pot for kicking, which no one in the village knew how to. He notices every other goblin taking a bath using magic water, but they are unable to control the temperature of it, making it too hot for the goblin that is taking a shower. He noticed though that only one goblin is using the water magic, so Livia tells him that there are only a few of them who can use magic. But they are only lined up like that to take showers because that kid is the only one with water magic. He suggests Lydia to use a bucket so that more people can take a shower at once, but she has no idea what he means by that, so he just built one out of wood using his smithing technique, but she asks him how to use this bucket, so he gets a bit nervous as he thinks if there is something wrong in this village to not even know such basic things. Later at night, Crest, Ruffna, and Goblia return to their shed in the forest, but those two decide to sleep in the small doghouse, which is understandable as they are animals. Crest goes into his house and jumps on his fluffy bed as it has been a long time since he slept on something so soft. He liked the room at the village as well, but then he regrets just one detail that the villagers could have built a good bed if they can build such an amazing building like Lydia's house. As he thinks about how knowledge about even basics of living comes and goes to different people, he hears Lydia asking for permission to come in, which he gives her, but when she walks in his room, he jumps out of the bed in shock. In front of him stands Livia in a very revealing outfit and starts to thank him for improving the life of the villagers by such a good margin. And so as the chief of the village, she is supposed to protect them, and if she does not, then it will be on her shoulders that the village gets destroyed. Crest nervously tells her to not be so negative about the situation, but she keeps advancing towards him and gets on his bed and asks for a favor from Crest, who is desperately trying to get her to get off as he is embarrassed to look at her in those clothes. Lydia springs a proposal on him by getting into his personal space, asking if he would marry her, making a very pleading face. Crest hears it and then his mind goes blank, wondering what kind of question he just got asked out of nowhere, that too from a person who had no idea about the other basic things of life. Lydia gets way too close to Crest on his bed, invading his personal space, while he is still in shock about why she would come to his room in such revealing clothes and ask his hand in marriage all of a sudden. Though he also thinks about taking his chances, as this is a rare chance for him to learn about such personal practices, and seeing how he has a girl in his bedroom, he starts to get crazy thinking about how even the Noble Academy never taught him about this, and what if this becomes a regular occurrence. Though when he comes to his sense, he sees Lydia too, nervous about what she is doing right now, as she stutters and is unable to form a proper sentence, nervously asking him to accept her request. She suddenly falls down on his bed as it was too much for her to bear, so Crest worryingly asks her if she was doing more than she could handle, to which she is unable to reply with anything as her brain turns off. He calms himself and her down and tells her that it is okay for her to ask him anything without doing anything like this in the first place. She then embarrassingly tells him that the goblins want to join hands with the werewolves, although she knows that this is just an excuse for them to keep the goblins under their control. She further adds that the werewolves are concerned about the current monster outbreak in the villages, so they want to increase their population by procreating with other races like the goblins, because they can do it with anyone. She worries that they will be taken in by the werewolves at this point, so she worries that she might have to go as well, which is when Crest understands why she wanted to marry him. He gets up and walks away from his bed, telling her that he dislikes political marriages, so he cannot marry her in that sense, since he remembers his horrible time with Ellis, but he still decides to help Livia and the other goblins, as they will be at a disadvantage if the werewolves took the nin, though he also throws his jacket at her so she can cover herself up. This gesture makes Livia shed tears of happiness, and she jumps at him to show her gratitude to him, though he immediately asks her to put on some proper clothes, so she takes a step back, trying to save her image that she will, hoping that he does not think of her as someone indecent because she never dressed like this normally, so he reassures her that he was not thinking of her that way. He thinks about how extreme of a clothing that was, which makes him question her if she does not like to wear clothes, since her dresses are all too revealing. She thinks back at it and tells him that she does not really have an interest in them, as they stopped wearing clothes altogether after the craftsmen of the village left, and now there is no one to make new clothes for people. Though she nervously tries to clear her image again, saying that the clothes she had on right now were just something her ancestors passed on to her, labeling it as the best clothing, while Crest thinks about how the weapons and farms in the goblin village were well maintained, but they still did not know what a bucket or a soup stock is. And then there is the fact that only the mansion that Livia lived in was made such beautifully, while the rest were barely houses. He connects the dot that there is no knowledge transfer in the goblins' culture, unlike how the upper world can share knowledge and skills with each other, possessing multiple at one time. But in the goblin village, when a person with skill dies, the skill goes away along with him, as it was never shared. He gets confused about why the goblins do not like sharing, and that just might be why they are going to get completely destroyed. He calls out to Livia, who is still explaining her indecent actions from earlier, and gives her an outfit to wear, which suits her completely as she puts it on, even amazing her. She asks Crest if she can keep the dress for herself, if it is okay with him, so he gladly tells her that she can keep it, which makes her really happy. She thanks him, and again tells him that she will remember this favor for the rest of her life. The next day, at the goblin village in the giant building where Livia lives, the villagers start to gather, while Crest, Livia, Rufna, and Goblia sit in the hall waiting patiently. In the hall, the werewolves' tribe's king, Orphe, comes and meets with the hero Crest, Queen Livia, Rufna, and Goblia, who were sitting and waiting for him to come. Orphe is also a subhuman who looks vicious, and steals a look at Crest as he greets Livia for coming to him. He sits and ignores Lydia's greetings, and gets straight to the point, expecting her to have accepted his proposal as she has come all the way over. Though she straight up tells him that she will be denying that offer, which Orphe denies in frustration, saying that he did not hear her the first time, and asks her again if she accepts the proposal for teaming up with his village, and she gives him the same answer again without missing a beat, while smiling confidently. This ticks Orphe off, and he gets up to command the entire werewolf village to take up their weapons and go raid the goblin village, because there is no other choice except for this. Crest gets up and stops all of them from rumbling on like this, so Orphe asks him rudely about who he is, so Crest introduces himself and tells them that he is a human. But he is also grateful for the goblin village for his own reasons, and so he does not want a war between the wolves and the goblins. Instead, he wants a partnership that is equally as good for the two parties involved. The crowd of the werewolves meanwhile talk in between them, seeing how a human is down here in the lower world. Orphe at first denies the request, saying that they are superior to the goblins, while the crowd behind him agrees and chant in his favor. They all gather around Crest and his friends, wanting to kill them, so they all also get ready to counter the werewolves without fear, which makes them wonder about who Goblia and Rufna are. Orphe asks Livia about who gave mana to the monster, so she proudly gives away Crest, saying that he did, and then proceeds to reveal all of his abilities about how he can do a lot more than just give life to monsters, which leaves him stunned as he did not plan to do this. Though he has no idea what mana is, which is why Livia explains to him that mana is a name given to a certain monster under special circumstances, and that name causes the monster to get powers that are much stronger than what they normally had. Crest thinks about the example and falls in greed of it, and asks if Lydia is also a magical name. But she tells him that it is just a nickname given to her. Orphe listens to all of Crest's spectacular abilities and challenges him to a duel on behalf of the goblin village, and puts a condition that if he wins, Crest will give the magical names to all of the werewolves' tribes, while the goblin tribe will go under their command. Lydia objects, saying how this is such a one-sided condition, but Crest accepts without any hesitation and asks what will happen if he wins, so Orphe confidently gives him permission to do whatever he wants, simply because Crest is not going to win. They both have a fierce standoff against one another, while an announcer informs everyone that Orf, the representative of the werewolves tribe, will fight against Crest, the representative of the goblins tribe. He closes his eyes to prepare when Lydia comes and apologizes to him for getting the responsibility of Hero Village to him. But he cheerfully reassures her that he does not mind, and that he is happy with this outcome as he only gets to put his magical name ability on the line, unlike what could have been a war with people's actual lives on the line. He reassures her that he will fight against the unfairness in this world, as he K6 not tolerate such a behavior that takes advantage of weak people in whatever way it wants. Hearing this, Livia grabs his hand and gently calls out his name since she appreciates his character so much. She, with a determined look, wishes him a good luck in the duel against Orphe and leaves, so the announcer starts the fight with the command, and Orphe immediately jumps with such great speed towards Crest, who observes his attack, while Orphe swings his giant sword with full force in the direction of Crest, and smashes it straight into the ground, causing the ground to deform where it got struck. Crest falls down on the ground as the spot where he was standing cracks open, but then he easily dodges the next sword swing from Orphe by jumping in the air. Crest continues to dodge all of the fast swings fairly easily, with minimal movements, which surprises the crowd as they witness someone actually dodging the attacks of their king. Orphe picks up on Crest's strategy and warns him that he will not tire down since a werewolf has almost limitless stamina, while Crest continues to calmly dodge him, remembering how he used to fight at the Noble Academy, although it has been a while since he was in a proper fight. He picks up on the rush of attacks Orphe is throwing and finds an opening to use a hand-to-hand fighting technique, where he punches the hand of Orphe that held the sword and damages so badly the inside muscles get exposed, leaving him in pain and unable to swing his sword. This gives Crest an opportunity as he attacks the sword out of Orphe's hand and quickly does a second attack to stab him, but moves his arm so that he does not unnecessarily hurt him. This act leaves Orphe speechless as the announcer announces Crest as the winner, and while the entire crowd is in disbelief that their king lost, Orphe himself asks Crest to kill him because he cannot live with such a disgrace all of his life. Crest pulls away his sword because he reminds Orphe of the deal that Crest gets to do whatever he wants if he wins, so he will spare Orphe's life on the condition that he will form a partnership with them, while keeping the goblins and werewolves on the equal status, and teaches Orphe that the real shame is on dying first, leaving his people behind and not in living to see another day. This leaves Orphe completely speechless, and because the crowd agrees with Crest, they start praising Orphe because they believe him to be the rightful leader, and they cannot live without him. However, he gets annoyed by listening to such things because of his rough personality, so before he takes his next action, he punches one of his men so that they quiet down. He then bows down to Crest, accepting him as his lord, and offers himself as Crest's sword, who has no idea why Orphe is doing such a thing, but before he can say anything, Orphe announces that Crest is their new leader, which everyone accepts. Crest tries to explain them that he cannot be the leader, but even Livia comes to him, telling him how she was moved by what he said earlier, and now even she is accepting him as her lord, which makes him question if all of them are right in the head. Crest tells them all in seriousness that he accepts being the leader only if he is able to make the goblins and the werewolves live together in peace, which the crowd cheers to as they accept it. When Crest tells Orphe that he cannot take Lydia as his wife anymore, he says that he was only going to marry her to get her help in fighting because he heard that the Goblin Queen has great potential, which she clearly misunderstood and did that embarrassing thing with Crest. Though Crest wonders why would he need her power, and if it is to counter the increasing number of monsters in the lower world, so then Orphe embraces himself and prepares Crest to tell his story of why he wanted to collect as many powerful warriors her could have. It was all to take revenge against a pathetic werewolf who should have been punished for his sins, and how this village underwent a very disgusting and dangerous past at one time.